Hey y'all, it's Trish, and I'm ready to dish about relationships again. Right now, in real time, when I'm making this video, it is the Monday of the week before Thanksgiving, or the week of Thanksgiving, I should say. So we are entering into our holiday season. Things are going to speed up. We got Thanksgiving, then comes all the parties for Christmas, and then we're wondering about what are we going to do on New Year's. So it's like bang, 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 right here at the end of the year. So it's a good time to talk about rituals. Rituals are very important. For the most boiled down definition, I would tell you that rituals are anything that you do the same way every time. Simple enough, right? Well, to make it a little more complicated, which is when I start having fun with it, rituals are symbolic things that we do the same way to mark an occasion, to solidify ourselves as a member of a couple, or a member of a family, or even a member of a tribe, a culture. And they're very important. They're team making exercises, is another way that you might look at it. Think about when the football team that you're yelling for tonight, Monday Night Football, or against, whatever. Some teams will hit the sign as they come out of the tunnel and take the field. Others have their little saying they do when they all huddle up and break. They might rub the bulldog's head as they walk by. Whatever it is, it's team making. And that's important in all kinds of relationships. The large ones, like cultural wide, say American. There are some things that we do simply because we are Americans. We celebrate the 4th of July. And when I said 4th of July just now, you imagined some fireworks, right? Think of culture-wide again. Remember when on September 11th we had the horror that unfolded in front of our very eyes? But then the America of September 12th, September 13th, 14th, 15th, and so on. We were very unified as a country, weren't we? We belonged all to the same tribe, and I wouldn't want to go back and pay the same price again for that feeling, heavens no. But it was a good feeling, and it's something that we're missing right now. That is an example of what rituals can do. That team making, that solidified us all as one country. Let's go a little closer to home. Let's talk about traditions. Those are rituals. Traditions like the way your family does birthdays, for example. Does the birthday boy get to choose what we're going to eat that day? Some families even celebrate a half birthday on the 6-month mark. That gives you twice as much to celebrate. Other traditions are like weddings. When I say wedding to you, your brain pulls up these pictures of white dresses and bridesmaids and groomsmen. And then within that set way things are done, we will often put our own particular little spin on it to make it personal to us. Those are traditions, and we could go on and name them. You know, they just start coming out of the woodwork. Oh, here's one that's very interesting, and keep your eye on it as you get older and older and things change more and more. When I was a child, the tradition of burying someone, a death in your family, was very set. And, you know, in a small town, it tends to be. the ladies of the town would come over and bring gobs and gobs of food, and they would take over the kitchen so that the people who had lost a family member wouldn't have to worry about that. The funeral home would take care of the body. But when I was a child, they would, the day of the funeral, bring that body and set up the casket open in the house of the person who had departed. And that is when the visitation would happen. People would come by the house, see the deceased, talk to the family, etc., etc. And then we would all leave and go to the church for the funeral, and then from there to the cemetery. That made for a very hard middle part there that I remember with both of my mother's parents, because they were visited at home. They were displayed at home after they died. The family gathers alone when it's time to leave for the funeral with the funeral directors, and they would close the casket with us there witnessing that. That's hard. I don't miss that part. Nowadays, most of that kind of stuff plays out at the funeral home. They have expanded to have chapels where you don't have to worry about having that at home, which helps because we are busier. Most homes contain 2 income earners, and things are not as pretty for people who are coming over anymore, because we're always having to catch up on housework. Florida. Google this. Google Florida. Of course it's Florida. Florida drive-through funeral homes. They exist. I'm not making this up. Some people have bought out some smaller old banks, you know, a small building just big enough for what they need that has a drive-through window, and they've turned them into funeral homes, and they set the deceased's casket up in the window, open, and the mourners, who are so busy, as we just said, drive through to view the deceased. And they make use of that little drawer that comes out where you would put your check that you wanted to cash beforehand. The drawer comes out and it's got the guest book in it, and you can sign the guest book and send it back in. Kind of tacky, still in my old-fashioned way of seeing things, but just goes to show you that things change as we go through life. I kind of hope that change never makes it to where we live. Anywho, those are what rituals are. They are important to us because they solidify us as a couple, as a family, as a culture, and they are extremely important for children. Children who grow up in a family that don't have any rituals to point to have a feeling of stress and unease. Think about it. If when you were a child and you knew that company was coming from out of town and they were going to spend the night at your house, you probably already had it figured out how this was going to work. You were going to give up your bedroom and you would have to sleep on the couch or with your sibling. We would have a fancy breakfast, you know, better than normal, regular old days when it's just us in the house. And you could kind of foresee how this is going to play out. And that gives you a sense of ease, a sense of comfort, rather than who knows what coming at you every minute. I have worked with children who never knew where they were going to lay their head down that night or where they were going to wake up the next morning, because, you know, their parent might cart them with them wherever they go, but they might spend the night at their best friend's house because they sat up drinking wine all night. or maybe at the boyfriend's house because that's where they wanted to be, or maybe they were dropped off at their grandparents or at a babysitter's, but it was chaotic. So that little kid never knows. You know, every day is a brand new world. They don't know what's going to come at them. And that's where you get a lot of tension and a lot of misbehavior, lashing out about that chaotic schedule. So schedules can be very good. And the smallest level, the most personal level of rituals are those pattern routines, the things you do at home the same way every day. I'm trying to get out of the setting sun here. Have you ever had your alarm clock not go off when you meant for it to? And you jumped up and you're already late, and so you have to just grab things and throw them on and rush out the door. And it's messed up your daily ritual for getting ready. And the rest of your day is just thrown off, isn't it? Because it didn't start out the way you're used to. Very important stuff. Let me look at my notes here and see what I am leaving out. Rituals. They mark for us when relationships change. They mark for us when we should hold on. They mark for us when we should let go. And on that note, there are some spots in our more modern life that don't have rituals. And we suffer because of that. So it would be very helpful if families would make something up. Like when there is a divorce. I remember when mine happened. I knew when it was filed, and nobody pointed out to me X number of days later. I had to go back and count, and then it's like, oh, the divorce became final 2 days ago. Huh. You know, I've been single for 2 days and didn't even know it. Not that I missed out on anything, but it just felt like there ought to be something. A tearing of the marriage license, a burying of something in your yard, throwing something in a fire, I don't know. You fill in with what you think would be helpful. Miscarriages, that's a big one that does not have a ritual. And that is part of the reason why it's so hard, so dadgum hard for people who go through that. Because you spend, you know, all of this time excited about this coming new life, and then suddenly, well, it's not coming after all. And there's nothing to mark it. It's just like your life has changed trajectories, and I didn't even see the sign when I drove by. So it would help if we could come up with some rituals for these things that are unmarked. Getting on my notes here again. Anyway, rituals. Thanksgiving's coming up. Do it up big. If you have got a blended family, that's an important point. There were rituals in family A, and there were rituals in family B, and those families came undone to an extent. They're never undone fully. And these two people married, they need to make their own rituals. Don't just throw away or erase the ones from the former families, because they're still important. But make some that are unique to your new family. And then encourage your kids to take some of the ones that they grew up with from your family as they start their own families, and put their own personal spin on it. but it gives that continuity through the years so that we remember where we came from and who we are and why we are that person because of where we came from. I hope that all makes sense to you, highlighting the importance of rituals and make you some. You'll be a better family because of it. Thanks. Bye-bye.